JJK Cursed Fate has a new add-on called, let me see, let me double check this. Cursed Fate Wither Rose. It's an add-on that adds a new curse technique. Ah, Shrine, my beloved. Unfortunately, you're not the curse technique I can show. Set technique Wither Rose. Oh, wait. Mistakes were made. Mistakes were made. Okay, now I have it. But in order to show it, I will need a couple of things here. Cursed Fate, add mastery, levels, CE 100, and innate 100. And here, I'm gonna need some targets to showcase this. So the curse techniques are actually really cool. I did already check them out, unfortunately. I meant to like check it out for the first time on camera, but that did not work out. So, wait a minute. Yeah, there we go. So, this curse technique has an awesome theme based around, actually, it's not entirely clear. The name is Wither Rose, so I thought it would be a curse technique based off like something from base game Minecraft. But all of the effects and art seem to depict, some kind of like eldritch void eye and tentacles coming out, but then there's plants involved. I mean, it's cool. It definitely has a theme, not one that's obviously easy for me to point out, but to be honest, if anything, that makes it more like a curse technique. So going ahead and demonstrating the abilities, and the abilities are really cool because they actually, like a couple of them actually change based off of whether or not you chant or flow them, like with base game innates. I didn't even think it was possible to make like extra curse techniques as add-on mods for this mod. I didn't think there was any kind of support for that. And that is showcased as the last skill of this is supposed to be a domain, but domains apparently aren't. How did the author of this add-on put it? Um, there's currently no available support for custom domains from the main mod. Not that there won't ever be. Oh my God, yeah, that's such a cool like artwork. Not that there won't ever be, maybe, but for right now, it's in a more incomplete and different state. So, starting off, we have Funeral Gaze, which the mod author is already aware none of his skills have descriptions in game. He is working on that. So, Funeral Gaze, two closed eyes appear behind the user. After 1 second, they open, applying semi-wither stacks. Semi-wither stacks is a new like stackable debuff that this curse technique introduces. It applies to all entities looking at the user, with each stack increasing debuff severity at 5 stacks. Enemies receive heavy debuffs. It doesn't exactly say what those debuffs are, but I'm sure we could figure it out. So, God, my voice dying. Starting off with the showcase of this skill, the eyes opening, and yeah, it just applies a debuff. It doesn't do damage on its own or anything. That's all. The entire like playstyle of this seems to be very like debuff and crowd control based, which the mod description actually does describe as. Personally, in the past, I've never really ran debuff builds per se in any game. I have run like illusion based builds in some games, but never debuff. Debuff is not typically something I like doing. I like fighting my enemies at their strongest and being at mine. But this is cool enough to definitely warrant an exception, if I could spell. Nope, not that one. No cooldowns. And yes, we will be removing cooldowns for this. I could tell you all the cooldowns are fairly reasonable with its stronger abilities having much longer cooldowns, but this is just so I can show you the chantable and flowable variants. So if I do some damage here to build up my focus, so if I chance and then use the first skill, it actually does damage and applies debuffs, which it doesn't say that it does on the mod page. It just says the eyes change color and apply 2 stacks. And if you hold flow, it turns the skill into something that can be held down for up to 5 seconds. Which actually does do constant damage. Not a large bit of damage, mind you, but constant damage. And if you flow it and chant it at the same time, let me get some, just gotta get in the zone here. Maybe if I use both, it supposedly turns into one big eye, but it still looked like 2. You know, maybe if I actually remember to chant, that might be smart. Yeah. And it's one big eye. That's so cool. 30 damage, Jesus. But yeah, that is the first skill. The second skill, Morning Thorns. I was actually most impressed with this one. So, you stomp the ground animation-wise, and you can see the ground is actually changing based off this curse technique. The sad thing is, this like ground changing and block terrain changing actually still applies even if the no world destruction game rule is enabled for the Cursed Fate mod specifically, which I thought was an oversight by the add-on mod developer, to be honest. I feel like he should make it so you don't change the blocks in the ground what they are with your skills if world destruction is off. That would be nice. That's just one thing I'm asking for. But regardless, this skill, when you use it, you stomp the ground and particles wrap your opponent's head so that they can't turn. So a better example of this would be on a husk. And he's coming at me, he's coming at me. The sad thing is you can't really turn when you do it. Your movement speed is slowed, so you can't really see a proper demonstration. But as you can see, he is slowed a little, and it seems like he's not able to turn. Now, if you chance it, this actually does fully stun an opponent. If I can get to the point where I can chant. Why don't I have infinite focus? I bet. Yeah, it just turns into a little stun. That is really cool. Now, if you flow it, which is better, it actually turns into a little bramble spear that penetrates them. That's a good choice of phrasing. And it does stun them for like half a second. Obviously, it does that so for you as well. It's probably your first more traditional attack type skill for this curse technique. But if you flow it and you chant it at the same time, so it doesn't really show it, I guess, so it did do a lot of damage. Multiple of the little bramble spears show up for the enemy, which obviously do a lot more damage on their own. But yeah, that is the second skill, which obviously having the 3 different variations based off whether or not you chant and flow it is incredibly helpful and really cool. The third skill is probably my favorite, honestly. Third skill is turning you into Spider-Man. It doesn't give you any kind of like fall damage protection, but it just lets you shoot a little vine and pull yourself towards it. And if you want to break it at any point after shooting it, why can't I? Why is it not working? There we are. If you shift, it'll kind of like launch you up a little bit, and it can be used to kind of like climb trees and stuff. Again, on its own, it doesn't offer a lot. actually offers no protection against falling, which is incredibly unfortunate. But it is pretty useful for some like really quick mobility. It doesn't pull enemies to you, unfortunately, but to be honest, that's not really necessary. I like it as a mobility ability. Mobility skills are and always have been fairly or incredibly important in games. Granted, in most of my mod packs like this, I run another mod that gives an auto dodge of some kind or a dodge roll, but I like it because once you get your bases set up, wherever you choose to live, being able to just pull yourself away from a conflict super quickly would be incredibly helpful. I'm kind of concerned about the range. It seems a little limited, but you know, that's just because I run an insane computer on insane graphics. Though I'm slowing it down right now because I'm actually on a mod pack I'm making for friends that's supposed to run better on lower end PCs. This is not going great. Anyway, fourth skill is called Rite of Rupture. It's a kicking skill. Yes, I remember this one. So, let's see. If I summon an enemy, and this skill's cooldown, I'm not going to show it. I'm not going to disable cooldowns for you to see it, but it is about 1 minute, which is insane as a cooldown for an offensive skill. But it's a kick, which I'm going to show like this, where you kick them back and they hit a bramble wall that does damage to them. Now, if they have any amount of stacks from your various debuffing, preferably if actually no, if it has 5, it needs to be 5, my bad. If it has 5 stacks of your semi-wither debuff, then it also triggers a cascade of explosions where each wither stack that you have on them, with no maximum seemingly, detonates the target. Like they explode further. And it says the target then loses 40% of HP. I don't know if that means per explosion or altogether, no matter the amount of explosions, which is kind of important. But like, yeah, let's say we summon a husk here. And we flow, use our first skill here a couple times with like no cooldown. Really, really get in here. In fact, yeah, that's the first time that actually functioned. Okay. Now if we use this fourth skill on him, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure that worked, but yeah, the point is, the more debuffs you manage to get on an opponent before using this kicking skill, the greater effect it'll have. It is a very long cooldown on this skill, though, and I'm not entirely sure why. Let's see if I can look at it in third person. Not the greatest animation ever, but still pretty good, honestly. The fifth skill? Ah, I remember this. Okay. This one does not have any chantable or flowable variants on it, and it doesn't really need it. To be honest, the sixth skill is supposed to be like an incomplete domain because domains aren't added currently. Or they're not supported by the official mod, so the add-on developer doesn't seem to be able to make it yet. That's what I gathered. That may not be correct. But this skill feels like a more domain equivalent to me. Wake of the Black Rose. It's a holdable ability, and the cooldown is similarly about a minute. You constantly do AoE debuff damage and damage to basically anything around you, and the only way to block this ability, aside from just getting out of its range, is if they like build a wall of blocks to be able to protect themselves from you. So for instance, if I stand over here and then use it, the dummy is safe. Now, you can power up these skills to do more damage, and just get ready, because the Cursed Fate mod allows you to adjust your power output for your skills, which is awesome. Oh, that's the wrong ability. That's the 6th ability. Well, there's the domain replacement so far. when the domain is done, it'll do a bunch of stuff, but if you flow the domain, it'll force enemies into a pitfall, which will be deeper the more debuffs that they have. But right now, the only thing it does is if someone near you has debuffs and you use it on them, it'll just force them into a pitfall. But yeah. Anyways, back to the damage of the fifth ability. 35 damage just holding it down, not even counting the debuff damage. You could probably kill the Ender Dragon with like one run of this ability. It does use an insane amount of cursed energy, however. Like absolutely mental. But it's kind of worth it for the sheer amount of damage it can output. That is, I believe, all of the abilities for Cursed Fate Wither Rose, the add-on. Again, I really like this. I am actually a big fan of the concept of making like fan-made curse techniques for JJK mods, specifically ones themed around anything Eldritch based or, horrors based off popular horror or curse-like works in real life. Like I wouldn't want, the Monkey D. Luffy curse technique. I mean, that's cool, guys, but just play a One Piece mod. Hell, Prime Piece might run with this pretty well. But I'm moving further from my point. I love this add-on. This add-on is great. It's kind of poetic. I had purple curse energy with it. The developer is out working on balance. He adding the ability descriptions in the game, and he's working on trying to add his domain expansion. All of this he says on the webpage, and a ton more. Also, he made a note that he's trying to improve the VFX of this, and to be honest, I love the VFX of this. It's not as great, obviously, as like the main curse techniques, which might be what he's getting at, but personally, I think it holds up very well to them. Definitely in a similar enough art style that I highly appreciate it. And I will definitely be including this mod in my mod list for Cursed Fate. Because holy hell, it is awesome. More cursed techniques is always a good thing.